J&R Sports Lounge. J&R Sports Lounge.
This is the J&R Sports Lounge. No scripts, no filters, just sports talk. Episode 6 starts right now. Welcome to the J&R Sports Lounge. I am your host, Joe Huzar. This is my co-host, Randy Curry. This has been an incredibly busy week in sports, and we're going to talk about a lot of those topics today. But first, let me introduce my co-host here. How you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Making it through the week. We're halfway through. A lot of stuff going on in sports. There's crazy things happening. There's your Huskies had a great game, had a great finish. I mean, they're still going now. I know you were very excited about the ending of that game.
Yeah, I really was. So, all right, so before we get into the Huskies, right at the beginning of every show, things that people don't see usually, which is kind of our behind-the-scenes stuff that we do, we always take a shot. And today we didn't. I'm not sure if it's because we forgot, or maybe it's because I just really wanted to subconsciously celebrate my Huskies making it to the Final Four.
I think
so.
That's it.
We'll take a quick shot here, and if you guys have a shot with you, take one with us. This is for the UConn Huskies and that amazing shot. Cheers.
I tried to make mine splash just like that shot.
Nice.
Who was that young man? I mean, I hate to say this because it shows that I didn't watch the game.
Braylon Mullins. So Braylon Mullins is a freshman for UConn, a freshman. The one thing that the team isn't really surprised about is him making that shot and him taking that shot. So in high school, when he was getting recruited, one of the things that Dan Hurley has always said about him is that this kid has been making shots like that his entire high school career. And so when Alex Caravan passed the ball to him, Alex Caravan, mind you, being a senior, a fourth-year senior, one of the most decorated UConn players of all time, the guy that you would really trust to take that shot for you, you want to live and die by your senior taking that shot, the most trusted player that you have on the floor.
Right.
And he was selfish enough to give up that ball, or unselfish enough, I guess, not selfish, but he was unselfish enough to give up that ball to a freshman who's standing maybe 8 or 9 feet behind the three-point line. And that kid is automatic. I mean, he was. Usually, I would say that he's automatic. Although this tournament, he's been a bit off, and he really. I mean, I think in the game before the Duke game, he had a nice game. I think he scored about 20 points, maybe 24 points, but his 3-point shooting has been a bit off, and so just the presence in mind for Caravan with 2 seconds to pass that ball to him and for him to knock down that shot. I mean, it's honestly one of the greatest shots I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, I mean, I like I said, I didn't watch the game, but I watched the last 2 minutes a few times. It looked like they were being very deliberate with the ball. I mean, they looked like they knew what they were doing. They had a lot of good ball movement. There was good movement off the ball, and it just seemed like he knew he was going to take that shot. So perhaps his previous success in high school or wherever really led to him having confidence to take that shot, because he did not hesitate whatsoever.
Nope, he pulled the trigger as soon as he touched that ball. He pulled the trigger, and I think the impressive part about him, again, maybe let's not glaze on the freshman part here, but he's the one that made the steal with 10 seconds to go to come up with the game-winning shot.
Yeah.
And it's not just that he took a great shot, but I mean every single part of that play was played as perfectly as you can play it. I mean, that's the tape that college coaches should be teaching every single kid.
Exactly what I thought when I saw it. One of the things I thought of was because they weren't playing to foul, but one of the things I saw, that there's a moment in which a player got the ball on Duke and had to turn around and move the ball up the court, and it seemed like 2 players were right there ready to jump, almost like defensive linemen.
And look, they jumped literally at the same time.
Like they went up. Exact time.
It looked like they were like twins.
Right.
They went up the same.
Yeah.
They came down the same. It was Silas Demery, their point guard, and Braylon Mullins, their other guard.
and they timed it perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, because your body has a certain rhythm to it. They both timed it as if the person was going to turn around and expect to throw it within a certain window of just like a couple seconds or whatever, fractions of whatever. And they did it absolutely perfect. I mean, they were both up. It was like you had Myles Garrett and Michael Strahan. I know they're in different eras, but they were both standing in front of you with their big paws up in the air. Unless that, you know, and it's basketball, you know, there's a risk of travel. It's, you know, the heat of the moment. A lot of people can mess up there and turn the ball over when they get that much pressure and without the foul. You know, I just thought it was very impressive. It was one of the best endings I've seen, even though I didn't watch the game and get the buildup of it. I was really impressed with the shot in general. I mean, it was such a splash. That net actually came back up through the rim.
God, those are so, like, majestic.
If it was like a Japanese diver, it would be a bad score, right? Because there was too much splash.
Yeah.
You know, it was just unbelievable. I thought it was so impressive. I was happy for you, of course. Of course, I got the text that signified that that's what happened. I had to ask, I was like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
You know, our boy Tim. But anyway.
Yeah, I went to the Hornets game.
Congrats to you, man.
Yeah,
that was
thanks.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, I went to the Hornets game with my friend Keith, and it was the Hornets against the Celtics. So they're playing a New England type of team, obviously from
Right.
you know. So there's a lot of UConn fans there, a lot of people that are from the New England area in general in Boston. You know, up in that area in Boston, I know that they have the schools that they like, you know, Boston College, Boston University, but there are a significant amount of people that went to UConn that are fans of the team in general. And so one thing, first of all, this is a topic for a different discussion, but the amount of Celtics fans at that Hornets game who are fighting for their playoffs lives was disgusting. I mean, that arena was like a Celtics arena, and it pissed me off so badly because we're at a Hornets game who are playing lights out. I mean, they're one of the hottest teams in the NBA. So I'm digressing here, but I mean, I was really pissed off about that.
I'm actually surprised to hear that.
But the one cool thing, though, was because there were so many people from that area at that game. So the game was at halftime. The Hornets-Celtics game was at halftime when the shot was happening, right? So I kind of I was following the score along on my phone. I wasn't watching the actual game, but I was following the score along on my phone. It was like 44-29 at the half, or 44-25 at the half. UConn was down by 19 points at the half. And they chipped away, and they chipped away, and they chipped away with like about 5 minutes to go. It was about a 7-point game, and I was nudging Keith, and I'm like, hey, you know, UConn's making a little bit of a comeback here. But you still don't think. I mean, Duke is still Duke. They are still the number one team in the entire country. And so you don't really think that they're going to make a comeback like that against a great team like that. But UConn does have a championship pedigree. And like I mentioned, Alex Caravan is a 2-time national champion, about to be hopefully a 3-time national champion, which would make him the only non-UCLA player ever to be a 3-time NCAA champion. So anyway, so the Hornets and the Celtics are both teams are coming out of halftime. They're doing their little shoot around, and there's probably 15 seconds left in that game. You know, there's a foul that happens, and UConn's down by 1. And I'm sitting there actually watching the game at that point on my phone. You know, watching it like live. Right. And as Liam McNeely played for UConn last year, and he just got drafted by the Hornets. He actually played in the G League for like the entire year, and he happened to randomly get called up right before the Celtics game. So he's on the bench. He's coming out for shoot around, and UConn wins. And I am like screaming at the top of my lungs. I mean, the game's not even going on, and I'm like, yes, jumping around like a maniac. And people around me are looking at it. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? But some people are also watching it.
Right.
I'm not sure if they were UConn fans or not because I could only hear my cheering.
Yeah.
I think Keith was pretty embarrassed that he was sitting next to me at the moment.
Yeah, that's all right.
And then me and this one random guy that was sitting like in the next section over, he's like screaming down to McNeely. He's like, hey, McNeely, UConn just won the game. And he didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
So he turns around and he's like, what? And we just kept yelling it to him. And he starts like pumping his fist, like looking at both of us. And like, It was a cool little moment.
That's cool.
But that's one of those shots. The reason I'm telling you the story is because that's one of those shots that you're going to remember. If you're watching that game, you're going to remember exactly where you were for that shot.
Right.
You know, it's like for me, when UConn won their first championship in '99, I know exactly where I was for that because that was such a historic moment for the school. But I mean, there are times, there are other great shots. Gordon Hayward for Butler, making his game winner.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Drew for Valpo. back in the day. Like Juan Dixit from Maryland. Christian Leitner for for Duke, obviously.
That's one of the biggest images in NCAA history.
Yeah, those are obviously iconic, historical NCAA moments, and this is right up there with them. In my opinion, I think this shot for me was number one in my book, but I'm a little biased. Maybe not. I don't know if about recency biased, but I am biased because I do love UConn very much, and I watch every single one of their games. But in my opinion, I think that this is, if it's not number one, it's definitely number two. In my book, it's number one.
Well, the quality of the shot, because it's not like a wing and a prayer. It's something that you actually. Those are shots they do take. They do practice that. You mentioned that kid is known for that. Perhaps in the game flow, they won't take a shot like that, but. I mean, you see Curry, you see a lot of players that are going to have the ball at the end of the game. Like, that becomes part of their practice. That becomes part of what they do. That shot couldn't have been more perfect.
Yeah.
Like I said, he knew he was going to take that shot from the very start of it. As soon as he got that ball, he knew that it was his. He didn't care that he was a freshman. And that shot was so dead on. It was like meant to be. It was just awesome.
Yeah, it was meant to be. You're right.
But also, as we were talking there, UConn has this way about them. Like they punch up. Like when they win their championships, they have a good history now. Like they are definitely a team that like if they go down by almost 20 against Duke, once they get close, they know they're UConn. You know what I mean? Like from the days of Kemba, like they just know that there's a little bit something special about being UConn, and that's what's particularly cool about it. Like it's not just like a Cinderella thing. It's a team that's been there and done that and won. And even though it might not have, the same exact makeup as players like Kemba or whatever, perhaps, I mean, in the future we might say, well, it makes sense because they had this player and that player. But in general, it was a freshman that made the shot. Yeah. It was just a cool thing because, they were down by so much against the number one team, and then they came back and they sealed the deal. It was just a very cool moment.
Yeah, I agree. As you were talking and you mentioned Kemba, he's the only really other shot. I mean, so his shot that came against Pitt came in the Big East tournament, not in the NCAA finals or in the NCAA tournament. Okay. However, his shot and those wins during that championship year in 2011.
It was that long ago?
Was it 2014? No, it was 2011. It was 2011 because then 3 years later they won again with Shabazz Napier and Ryan Boatwright.
I can't believe it was that long ago.
Yeah. And so his shot against Pitt at the Garden in the Big East tournament, like that is one that always sticks out in my mind. But and in all honesty, UConn had a really shitty year that year. Mm-hmm. I believe they were like the 9 seed in the Big East tournament.
And Pitt was good that year.
Pitt was really
great
good.
Defense.
Yeah.
They had some good quality players, some good bigs on that team.
Yeah, and so UConn actually, I believe in that tournament, they had to play an extra game in the first round because I think if you're not one of the first 8 seeds in the Big East tournament, you have to play an extra play-in type of a game.
Which just kind of underscores exactly what I said. For them, it's almost like a been there, done that. It's almost like they expect to win that game, they expect to do more. It's a well-coached team. It's a good I want to say franchise, but that doesn't really make sense with a college.
I know what you mean, though.
But it's just it's I'm happy for UConn in general. It's cool to have a team like that. That's almost like a perennial Cinderella of their own. It's just cool.
I know you're not a UConn fan and you're not a huge college basketball fan in general, but I can sit here and listen to somebody else talk about UConn all day. So I'm really glad that you're talking about them. I have watched probably every highlight show. I listen to a lot of New York sports radio, WFAN, and I knew at the beginning of Boomer Esiason's morning show, Boomer and Gio, the midday show with Tiki Barber and Evan Roberts, and then the afternoon show with Craig Carton, who I think is a fucking hack and a piece of shit at sports. But all I wanted to do was tune in for the beginning of every one of those episodes because I knew they were going to talk about UConn.
Right.
Although Evan and Tiki didn't. They started talking about the fucking Yankees and the ABS system and some bullshit. And I thought that was I thought that was an idiotic move from their part. I know they love baseball, or
It
at
almost
least Evan
sounds
does.
intentional. You go to the Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It just seems like
the only thing more obvious is if you go to the Cowboys. You
Yeah.
know, like if you go to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say a different thing too, but it's more of a political thing almost.
Yeah.
But like if you don't really want to talk about something, you talk about another thing, the more obvious thing. So yeah, I mean, it almost sounds
Yeah.
intentional to me.
It does, and it was just annoying. But anyways, I mean, I watched like Get Up with Mike Greenberg, because they do the show
Right.
like locally, like from New York, for them, kind of closer to UConn. I fucking hate Stephen A. Smith, and I even watched his fucking show.
Right.
And
Oh,
I
it's-
just
I mean,
couldn't
it's-
get enough of it.
Well, it's like when your team wins a Super Bowl or they win a championship, you try to catch every single
Yeah.
show that has their take on
And
it.
UConn didn't even win the championship. I mean,
Right.
they just made one great shot.
Right.
All right, so quick Final Four prediction. UConn is playing Illinois on Saturday in the Final Four. Illinois is the 3 seed. UConn is the 2 seed. And on the other side, it is Arizona and Michigan, both 1 seeds from their respective brackets. You want to just give me the 2 winners out of there?
Well, I mean, I'm going to pull for the Wolverines. I was a big fan of the Fab Five back in the day.
It's crazy how that still sticks as like a thing, even 35 years later, that like people still root for Michigan because of the Fab Five from 35 years ago,
Right.
for a team that didn't win the national championship.
Right. I mean, for me, it's a little bit more of a personal thing. It's strange, It's hitting the tempo with a baseball on the
yeah.
night of the Chris Webber timeout. That's the night I had an operation and everything.
Oh, damn.
So like that, and obviously I'm fine. I mean, I guess that's up to you to
Is he fine?
decide that.
Let's ask the audience.
But like,
you guys
so-
leave a comment on the YouTube page and the Spotify page. Let me know if he's fine.
So like like that game was going on that night, so I was checking in on that, and I heard about the timeout and everything. So it was just like a surreal thing for me. And the long shorts and everything, it was just cool. For a casual fan, like you said, I don't follow college basketball. It's more of a time thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the energy of it. I like March Madness is the best version of basketball in my mind.
So you got Michigan on one side, and
So
then UConn and
I had
Illinois on the other
Michigan,
side.
and I'm definitely going to go with UConn. It has to do with you, but also,
Yeah.
as far as like I said, even though they're favored to win, the other teams are 3, UConn was 2. I just like their bulldog mentality. Not to borrow another mascot or anything, but I just like their grit. I like the fact that they feel like they have it. Even if they're not supposed to have it. I feel like it's just a team that you can root for just all the time.
Yeah. All right. So, and then who would you pick out as your champion team out of UConn and Michigan?
I'll go with your boys. I'll go with the Huskies.
All right. Last question before we move on to our next topic here, and obviously I'm going with UConn also. Although I'm gonna put UConn against Arizona in the championship game.
Okay.
And I think that will be a really tight national championship game. I still have the Huskies pulling it out, not by much, maybe just by a couple of points here and there, but I still see my boys winning it. I mean, they have that championship pedigree already.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have that vibe going right now.
So my question is, and we'll talk about this for a minute or two, but do you think that UConn, if they win this championship, and if they do, obviously you know where I'm going with this, but if they win 3 out of the last 4 years, do you think that this is a dynasty at this point?
I think you have to.
Is that
say
the definition of a dynasty?
Yeah,
now?
I mean, I think immediately what pulls away from that is the fact, like, can you have that in college? Because there's so much turnover. So like, what's the dynasty? Who's the embodiment of that dynasty? I guess it would have to be the coach.
Yeah.
And the program itself.
Well, is he all right? So if they win, is he considered one of the greatest coaches, or is he up
Has to
there
be.
with like
Has to be.
the Dean Smiths and the Coach K's and like the John Calipari's and the
It has to
all
be.
those
I mean,
guys?
we're talking about
Tom
multiple
Izzo.
championships.
Yeah.
With different players.
Yeah.
So I mean, it has to be.
I agree.
It's a thing that maybe we're not ready to hear that debate yet, but it's going to happen if they win, and then people will get used to it. It'll sink in, and it'll make more sense. I mean, it kind of feels funny now, but yeah, because Dean Smith is Dean Smith.
Yeah.
Calipari.
Yeah.
You mentioned Mike Krzyzewski. I don't know if you did, but there's
Coach
Mike,
K. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, those are some unbelievable
And
names.
Calipari only has one championship. And Tom Izzo only has one
So
championship.
then, just by that virtue alone,
Yeah.
you have to.
It's just that he's
include
been doing it for such a shorter time, Danny Hurley. So,
Right.
the one thing I wanted to mention real quick about Danny Hurley, and then we'll move on to the other topic
Any
here.
relation to Bobby Hurley?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Bobby Hurley is his brother, and
Okay,
Bob
that's cool.
Hurley Sr. is his dad.
That's cool. I
So,
mean,
yeah.
I kind of thought that would be the case. Not the most
Yeah.
common last name ever.
Yeah, and that just shows you how much Randy watches college
There
basketball.
you go.
So the one thing I wanted to mention though, so about 5 years ago in the 2020 tournament, when it was during COVID and whatever, UConn got knocked out by Villanova, and in the post-game press conference, I think they got knocked out maybe in like the round of 32 or the Sweet 16 or something. And Danny Hurley made this very specific comment. He said, "You see where we are right now?" He said, "I'm building something. Just wait for it."
Oh, that's awesome.
And then 2 years later, he's on the verge. Like 2 years later, he started this run.
Oh, I love that.
And now he's on the verge of winning 3 championships, and like that's such an ominous thing to say. And he said it, he knew what he was building, and he fucking executed it. And he looks like an absolute genius. I know he looks crazy on the sideline, but there's a method to his madness.
Okay.
And I love Danny Hurley. I think he's doing an unbelievable job with this team. I mean, I'm so glad he didn't go to the Lakers, and he ended up re-signing at UConn before last year. So anyways,
Now I really want them to win.
see, because
That's
of that,
cool.
because of
Yeah.
that statement, right?
Yeah.
it's such a dope statement
Yeah.
to hear, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So go Huskies! I hope you guys win. If any of the players or coaches or whoever watches this show by any crazy chance, I love you guys. I hope you guys kill it. I'm with you guys. I will be here till the very last second. I don't care if you guys win or lose. I'm here with you guys for whatever. The next topic I really wanted to get into though is you and I did episode 5 from Jimmy Strip Club's house.
Right.
And for opening day, we are obviously huge baseball fans. Both of us. We're in multiple fantasy baseball leagues together, very competitive ones at that. And we watch opening day every single year with the same guys. We also had Bill, the Mets fan, on
Right.
our episode 5 talking about the little season preview for the Mets.
Who's an awesome player, manager, whatever. He's an awesome.
Bill.
Yeah, like at fantasy, he's
Oh,
awesome.
I'm like, what? Where is he managing?
No, like he's
Yeah.
he's just a great
Okay.
fantasy player.
All right.
And I'm sure he gave some good insights.
Yeah, he did. He was excellent. And then we have our buddy Tim, who lives down the street from
Another
Patrick
great
Bailey
player.
from the Giants. Another huge. He's a Red Sox fan. He
Across the street.
Yeah, across the street. Yeah.
I thought you said down the street.
Down the
I
street,
just want
across
to make
the
sure
street.
that it's understood how cool Tim is for being right across the street.
Yeah. I usually say things like down the block or stuff like that. So I wanted to
gotcha.
say it more southernly, like down the street. But I guess that still didn't sound that way.
No, I'm not sure.
And then my buddy Jimmy Strip Club, who's a huge Braves fan.
Right.
So we all got together. We've gotten together for the last 13 years or whatever, all of us, and you and I have been watching opening day for the last 18 years together, pretty much ever since we've met. We met.
Yeah.
I think we actually became friends during your first fantasy draft in one of our leagues because I went down to Savannah
That's right.
for St. Patty's Day, and you were doing your draft for the
Right.
league that we're in Sherwin's league.
Yeah. And you weren't in there yet.
I wasn't in there yet because that was the first time I ever met you.
Right.
And you were like, "Oh, I'm in a fantasy baseball league." I'm like, "Holy shit, they have fantasy baseball leagues?
Isn't that
that's
crazy?
I never even heard of it." And then you were telling me about it, and I was already a huge baseball fan then.
Right.
And it was just
It was like just
you know,
before it became like a mainstream thing.
Yeah. Were you guys doing it on paper at first?
No, but I did do one on paper way back in the day as a young
For
boy, like
baseball?
about Jack's age, when I was like 12 or 13 years old.
Damn.
Because my stepdad said, "Man, this kid knows a lot about sports. I'm going to bring him over to this other house where I know that they do fantasy."
Wow.
And that's one player that I remember I drafted Albert Bell, which is crazy.
Solid.
Isn't that funny? Like
Yeah.
it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Another guy that I remember, and I was a young boy, was the name Andujar Cedeno.
Andujar Cedeno,
Do you
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that name?
Yeah, he played for the
I don't think
Astros,
he could
didn't he?
hit though.
He played for the Astros.
Right. I
Yeah.
think he was just a fielder. Like I don't know if he was much of a hitter. The landscape of baseball was different then.
Yeah.
A lot of the middle infielders aren't like they are now.
Yeah.
It was one of my later picks, but because of the name, it
Yeah.
just stuck in my head. As far as just like the players who I remember. Those are the only two players that I remember.
That's
drafting
crazy,
way
dude.
back
Like,
then.
I honestly can't picture doing fantasy baseball on paper. I did one fantasy football league a long time ago, like before everybody was doing them. I guess before they were all like computerized,
Right.
and you would have to like look in the newspaper
Yeah,
and find
it's
everybody's stats
crazy.
and like add up your numbers, and then you add
Yeah.
up your opponent's numbers, and then you figure out the score and see if you both of you
Right.
guys had it the same. But that's once a week. Like, you're doing that once a week, maybe twice a week with Monday Night
Right.
Football, whatever. But like for baseball, you have to do that shit every single day.
Yeah, man.
That's insane.
It's nuts. Although it's not like I, as the 12-year-old, was doing that, nor was my stepdad at the time. Like the commissioner of the league was trying to keep
Oh my
tabs
god,
of
that's like
all
a
that.
full-time job.
I know.
Wow.
So I mean, who knows if it was legit or not?
That's wild. But so anyways, so getting back to opening day, right? So we all get together for opening day every year, which is awesome. It's a great time. We golfed a little bit. Opening day, so that kind of starts the day off right. The first game this year, on opening day, Thursday opening day, was the Mets and the Pirates. So it was a great matchup. Freddie Peralta, Paul Skeens. But I think opening day to me was just, I don't know if it had the same feeling, only because Netflix had the game the night before, and it was called opening
Right.
night, and it was the Yankees and the Giants. And I know you're a Giants fan, so maybe for you it was cool, but I'm sure, like, as a Giants fan, like, how do you feel about the aspect that you're not actually watching the first game of your season during the day, like with your friends? You're watching
Right.
some opening night Netflix bullshit, which their broadcast fucking
Yeah,
atrocious.
that wasn't great.
Atrocious.
I mean, I think it does pull away a little bit from opening day itself. I don't know if it bothered me so much as a Giants fan because there's a fantasy, aspect of it.
Sure.
I'd almost rather just keep up with that because I know, especially on opening day, we're doing a lot of, we're doing a lot of things. We're talking to each other. It's like a hangout. I actually miss a lot of baseball on opening day because
True.
we're having fun with each other.
Yeah, we do have
He's got a
have
pool.
quite a
He's
few
got a
drinks.
hot tub. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that's going on that particular day.
It's shots every like 15 minutes or
right.
so.
Yeah, things get hazy. But so I don't think that the opening night, especially on Netflix, takes even though they suck for their first inaugural whatever broadcast of baseball. Just because it's like a different entity, it's like the night before. I'm able to subtract that and not like feel any less about opening day. It kind of would be better if every game started on that day because then it actually is opening day.
Right.
But I just feel like the general rollout of it, I feel like they could gear it more towards fans like us that are doing that exact same things that you and I are doing,
Right.
and Tim and James and Bill and everybody. Like, that's happening all across America. So everybody's having to deal
Right.
with...
We're not the only 5 people doing it every year. I mean, there's tons.
Right.
Like our friend Rashim, he lives up in Raleigh. I know he goes out to a bar to do it, but I mean, he has a tradition of going out for taking the day off of work, going out for opening day every single year. We're definitely not the only ones.
Right.
It has to happen everywhere.
Right.
The-
They should take that Netflix game real quick and consider throwing it as an early game on opening day, like one early game where everyone can get
What, like
a
9
little
a.m.?
appetite, or 10 a.m.
10 a.m. That's a wild
or
idea.
11. It doesn't matter. Just an early game to sink your teeth into. But then after that, I don't know if you wanted to get into the meat of this yet, but like after that, like my particular issue is there's like one game that rolls out, and it's
During regular opening day.
right.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like it kind of softly comes in, and then eventually all the teams play when you're ready for opening day.
See, I think Major League Baseball is trying to cater to the people that are getting off work, and like they can start watching games at like 4. Like at 4 o'clock, there's multiple games on, but at the 1, 2, 3 o'clock time slot, it's like this year it was one game at 1 o'clock, and then like the Red Sox came on at 2. Maybe the White Sox or some shitty team like that came on at 3, and then like there were multiple 4 o'clock games, obviously multiple 7 o'clock games, multiple 10 o'clock
Right.
games. But the problem that lies there, right? And you and I have talked about this for numerous years before, because there have been so many rainouts in the
Right.
last few years. There was 2 years ago maybe. We were supposed to have one game at 1, one game at 2, and another game at 3, and the 1 o'clock game was rained out completely. The 2 o'clock game was in a full rain delay. But the first game didn't start until 3 o'clock, and it was I think it was Milwaukee because they have a dome.
Right.
I'm really having trouble understanding why Rob Manfred has such an issue with putting games either at venues that are enclosed. For open,
Right.
it's opening day.
Yeah.
Let us watch every team and every game.
Well, that's kind of that's it's another thing that feeds to the point that I made. Like perhaps it was just in my head. They need to cater to us. Like they need to cater to that situation to people that are taken off of work because they know that there's many of them. So we, in particular, who took off work, deserve an opening day. So yes,
Yeah.
they should have it so that the home team has a chance to play in the rain, whether it's in a dome or whatever, or it's like less of a chance to get rain. I don't know if there's places on Earth where that's the case, but either way, there's things that they could do. They should roll out the games more of a steady stream, not just like start with just a couple here and there, and then just all of a sudden there's a bunch of games.
All right, so even if you have to put on 1 o'clock games, right? Because then those have to be East Coast games, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of teams that have domes in the East Coast.
Right. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I know Tampa is going through like fixing their stadium, and there's not a lot of Rays fans out there, but Tampa has a dome. Put the Yankees against them.
Or
You know?
if there's a dome in the state, have opening day be played, like prep that field for opening day somewhere.
I'm sure that they probably want to bring in the revenue to the stadium, and like they don't want to drive workers out there for like the concession stands and all that stuff.
I guess as far as that's.
But I mean, listen, you can go to Miami, you can go to Tampa, you can go to Toronto.
Right.
Where else on the East Coast is there a closed field? I mean, Philly doesn't, the Mets don't, Yankees don't, Nationals don't, the Orioles don't, Atlanta does not. But I mean, that's 3 games right there. Honestly,
Right.
they could just pick the Jays every year and put them
Right.
on at 1 o'clock,
Yeah.
and have them have a home game right there.
And I don't
What's
think
problem
the
there?
rest of MLB would be upset with that.
Put the Jays and the Yankees on. That's a
They'd
big
be,
draw
they'd
right
be
there.
fine with that. Yeah.
You know,
And like have like particular matchups that are known for opening day. That way it becomes a little bit of a Super Bowl in and of itself for those teams. Like we won opening day.
like opening day bragging rights.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, make
It's like the Jets and the Giants in the preseason.
Yeah, make it a rivalry.
Yeah.
Like make it an opening day rivalry every year, and like you can say, the Jays have won, 6 out of the 7 last year's opening days against the Yankees. And that their season, and they can build stats off of that stuff.
Right.
I think Rob Manfred is missing a completely good market for exactly what you're
For
saying.
sure.
I think that's a great idea, actually. Rob Manfred, if you're listening, do something like that. That's a great fucking idea.
To try to have like particular
Yeah.
matchups that hold true.
Do an
Yeah, for sure.
opening series or an opening day rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, make opening day rivalry weekend right
Right.
off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like, doesn't NASCAR, isn't the Daytona 500 like the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And it's like the first thing that they do is they do that race. It's like the biggest race of the year, which always sounds funny. I'm not a NASCAR fan, but it sounds funny to have the biggest race of the year be the
At the
first
beginning
thing.
of the season. Yeah, I think it's weird.
It's a little
I think
inverse to my thought process.
That's part of the reason I think that why NASCAR had to add a playoff system towards the
okay.
end of their season for like the last 10 races. I don't know that much about NASCAR. I know we live in Charlotte, the home of
Right.
NASCAR, but I've been to 2 NASCAR matches or races or games or
I
whatever
went to
they're
2
called.
and I left early in both.
I stayed for about 10 laps in each. I got my experience of hearing the loud noise and
Yeah.
feeling the whoosh
Yeah,
of the air, but it's not for me.
yeah.
Um,
Same. No offense to NASCAR fans, obviously.
they'll live. There's plenty of them. So, but there has to be something done. Honestly, I just think that it's a travesty when, especially I know 2 years ago, and I'm gonna use that example because the 2 years ago wasn't the only time this happened to us. I'm saying it like, woe was me, like, oh, you're taking a day off, like this is happening to you guys.
Right.
But in all
Yeah.
honesty, I could have worked a full fucking day and saved the PTO day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I have a regular ass job.
And they need to make sure that people aren't doing that, aren't deciding, you know what, it really isn't worth it. Let me just go ahead and go to work, and then I'll catch the highlights, or I'll catch the second half of the game when I get home, or whatever. They need to make people make it a point to take this day off, to make it more of a holiday.
Yeah.
To make it like, have the rivalries, happen so that it can be a bigger and bigger deal.
Yeah.
And baseball should always be looking for that, because they've had issues with, getting eyeballs to the screens, with maintaining a popularity, relative to other sports, football and basketball and whatever. They don't want to become hockey.
Right. And, I'm glad you brought this topic up. We weren't going to talk about this today, but I think you brought up a good point here. I feel like baseball is kind of, and this is going to get into a different topic from opening day, but I feel like baseball has been kind of teetering on this like level of popularity for recently. Obviously, the NBA has gotten significantly bigger. The NFL is the king of all kings for U.S. sports. But baseball is like on this ledge where popularity is still good, but it could be better. But if something like a labor strike, a labor shortage or whatever they call it is going to happen, like it's predicted next year with the with the strike that may be coming. I mean, we're going to get back into the same scenario we were back in 1994, where and it may be worse at that point. At this point, I mean, it's just 1994, that strike there, and rest in peace to the Expos in that year, because they had the best record in baseball. They were 74-43, I think, and they were on their way. Like, they had superstars on that team, and they wasted the one time when they were actually good, when they could have won a World Series. And the work stoppage, it ruined baseball for a long time. It had to take until 1999 for Sosa and McGuire's steroid-filled nonsense to like get them back.
And we know that that's not going to happen again.
It can happen. So what would bring baseball back? Because I think if they go through another strike, which I think that they will, there may not be an entire 2027 season. And if that's the case, how do they come back from that?
I mean, I think the game is better now. I think that they're in a position naturally to come back from that. I mentioned that like the middle infielders of the past used to not really hit that much, apart from like a Ryan Sandberg or whatever.
Mark Grace.
Well, he was a corner out
infielder. Infielder, yeah. All right.
But like Jeff Kent.
Yeah.
Stud. But I mean but if you go even further back than that, I mean, like anyway. Where the heck were we? Middle infielders.
You were very excited about these middle infielders. You were saying that the game is in a better place now than it was back then.
So I think it has a better chance to recover. Plus, there's fantasy sports and everything. Because I know I'm not going to fall off. I'm going to be pissed, but I'm not going to be like, oh, it's not worth it anymore. I'm not going to watch. These people are greedy or whatever. I don't think that sentiment is really going to happen as much as it did in the past. But still, it's not something that baseball wants to fuck with.
Yeah.
I think it's also, these are opportunities. Opening day, they need to be thinking about every single opportunity that they have to make money so that they can compete. And opening day is a big deal. They push it. They know it's a big deal, but they don't really fully take advantage of it and make it the Super Bowl. I reference a different sport that they could. They could make it an even bigger deal than what it is.
And I think that that was the whole point of what the WBC is, right? Like it's sort of like a preseason. It's a preseason tournament, but it's not affiliated with. I don't know if it's affiliated with Major League Baseball or not, but I mean, it is a big tournament, obviously, towards the beginning of the season. And, they have the All-Star break in the middle of the year, so they do a great job with the Home Run Derby. I think that's an excellent
They do a good job with it.
In all honesty, the Home Run Derby is the best All-Star event of any sport, in my opinion.
Even more than the Slam Dunk?
The Slam Dunk is absolute garbage. It is the biggest waste of time. First of all, they don't have stars in it. It's always like some G League, like Mac McClung has been in that contest for the last like 4 or 5 years, and he's basically a borderline G League player. I think he's actually now the G League all-time leading scorer in the history of the league. But like, that event has turned absolutely atrocious. The last good one was Zach LaVine against what's his name? The kid that plays in Denver. He was with the Magic then. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? One of the greatest dunks I've ever seen in my life.
Iguodala?
No, not him. It was oh my God! If you said his name, I would know it. He had one of the best. Aaron Gordon.
Oh, okay.
Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon, one of the best dunk offs, like the last round of the dunk contest in the history of dunk. I mean, in the contest, but the double-legged underneath, jumping over the car like dunk is one of the sickest things I've ever seen in my life.
It's cool when it's Vince Carter winning it, though. because he's an actual player who scores points.
Well, those guys are both NBA players, like those, and they're good ones.
Right.
Aaron Gordon's a good player, but
Yeah.
now ever since then, there hasn't been a good one, and they're trying to pump up these like shitty players. Like the 15th guy on the Knicks. Like the 13th player on like the fucking
Who
Hawks.
has
or
all the time in the
T-Wolves.
world to practice their dunks because they're not playing.
And they're like, they just look lazy. Like they're, I know that there's only a certain amount of dunks you can do, and certain like, people can't fly, so there's only a certain way to dunk and a certain types of dunks you can do. But it's gotten so stale. The format is boring. The dunks are boring. The players are boring.
It almost seems like that situation is only going to make stars not want to participate.
And they don't. And I think the NBA keeps wanting them to do so. And this is what makes the Home Run Derby such a great event, because you have superstars in that
Right.
event. Pete Alonso has won it, not last year, but 2 years before. The previous 2 years, I believe he won. Vladdy has won. Guys like Ellie De La Cruz are in there, who is like an exciting player.
And they want to win.
Yeah, Cal Raleigh was in there last year. I mean,
Yeah.
these are like the who's who of like home run hitters, and these guys want to participate.
Right.
Whenever you're watching the Home Run Derby, the one thing I always see is the fun that these players are having. Their
No
teammates
doubt.
are there with them.
Yeah.
Their kids are there with them. It just looks like just a family affair, and it just looks
Right.
so exciting. The fans are excited. I'm glad Chris Berman isn't calling them, because he sucks
Right.
at calling that shit.
Man.
But I love the Home Run Derby, and I think baseball does a good job with that stuff. So my whole point for this whole conversation here was, the WBC every 4 years is a good idea, and the All-Star weekend for Major League Baseball is good. And then kind of after the trade deadline for baseball, baseball is really, really fun.
Right.
And throughout the playoffs, it's a lot of fun. But there are obviously a lot of dull months in
Sure.
there. Mid to late April, May.
Right.
Once the excitement of the baseball season wears off at the beginning of May, you're in May and June, and at the beginning of July, you're like, man, this season's kind of dragging on.
There's the call ups that happen in June, but you have to be like a real type of fan to
Right.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so I just think that baseball. You're right. I really like your idea, and this is an idea that maybe we can pitch to Major League Baseball somehow. I don't know how we can write a letter to them or do
Maybe
something.
we can get Tim's neighbor to.
We could.
I mean,
maybe he talks to
bring it up to Buster Posey.
yeah
To play the same position.
yeah. They can talk to his team player rep, and that player
There you
can, that player can bring it to the union. I know that
Yeah.
they're having some issues with Tony Clark leaving and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Good idea.
Man. I like this is a
Started
great
right
idea,
here.
dude. You are like an
The
innovator right
brainchild
now.
happened right here.
Hell yeah. Speaking of brainchilds, one of the greatest athletes in modern sports history, and I really never call golfers athletes because
But technically, if we're going to
technically
be
they are.
PC, I mean, you have to move your body and make things happen.
One of the
sure.
greatest. Let's just call him one of the greatest champions of our time.
Sure. We can call him an athlete.
All right, I guess let's just call him an athlete. The greatest athlete champion of all time, Tiger Woods is. I don't know what the hell's going on with this guy, man. It seems like he needs a little bit of help.
Yeah. I would definitely say he needs help. I mean, I feel like some of the people that don't get help are people that have everything, like a Michael Jackson or a Prince or Tiger Woods. It's almost like you kind of leave them to their own conventions. There's not that person that's able to say, hey, listen, wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's time to snap back into reality.
Yeah.
But anyways,
So for the listeners that have been living on a different planet that don't know what's going on with Tiger, obviously everybody knows about his history with, his car crash and his, all his surgeries, but
almost
also
lost his leg,
right in an accident, in a car accident,
which makes you think, holy shit, I'm a fucking professional golfer. We know that he planned to keep playing.
Right.
He was scheduled to play.
Yeah.
He almost lost his leg.
Yeah.
Obviously, he continued to do whatever he did. He's inebriated, not on alcohol.
Not on alcohol, 0.0 on the breathalyzer, but he's all doped up on
Hydrocodone.
Apparently
Apparently he had a
painkillers.
couple of those in his pocket. And
Yeah.
so, I mean,
But the thing about that is that he knows that he needs that stuff for his back because of his
Right.
surgeries and all that. He knows that stuff,
Right.
right? If you're gonna take that type of medication, and I don't know for any of our viewers or listeners that have ever taken oxys or any of that type of like painkiller type medication. Like that shit fucks you up.
I mean, I know that I took it for a little bit with my ankle some time ago, but I mean, it really just took the edge off because my ankle was fucking hurting like crazy.
But it puts you like in a fog,
But
and
it does,
a haze.
It does.
And that maybe he's built up a tolerance to it or something. But I mean, I don't know. At some point, when you know you have to take that medication, or right when you take it, like, don't you think like his accident, this recent one, happened in Jupiter, Florida. He lives there. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you think that maybe an Uber or a Lyft would be an option?
You're Tiger Woods.
You can get a fucking driver.
You can fucking pay somebody $1 million a year to literally sit in your fucking driveway, like 2 people, so that they can take shifts.
Yeah.
So they can just be there, so that they can drive your cool ass fucking car wherever the hell you want to go, and either way. But I feel like that it comes down to privacy. He's probably a private guy. He wants to do things on his own, whatever. I mean, apparently the car, because I hear some cars pulling into a driveway and then saw this car behind him just flying down the road. When I think of those types of, drugs or whatever, feels like it would slow your system down, not speed it up.
Yeah.
It's not like he's on speed. It's not like he's doing coke.
Yeah, he's not ripping lines.
He's on hydrocodone or oxycodone or like a downer, a depressant. Yeah. So the fact that he's flying down the road like that, I don't know, it suggests a little bit, not like another substance, but some other issue going on where, like, obviously it's recreational for him. Not to poo-poo the fact that, he got into it based on injuries he's had and pain and whatnot. If you're Tiger, you have all the resources available to you. So, like, my disappointment in him, if there is any, I mean, I don't have any expectations of him, but it's just the fact that you should be able to remedy that. You should be able to find a driver. You should have somebody that you can call at the drop of the hat from multiple locations based on wherever the heck you are, that they can come and get you and drive whatever car you have. They will drop everything they're doing because it's going to give them $100,000 to come pick you up right now.
Yeah.
But
so I had, all right, and I don't mean to cut you off here, but
no, you're good.
This is the same thing that I hear from a lot of people when I talk to them about the same topic, right? Like, why doesn't he have a driver? Why doesn't he have some sort of way of transportation? Because he has this much money, mm-hmm. right? And it comes down to like his financial situation, that he has the resources to do that if he wanted to and get a driver. I was thinking about this, like, if you have all this money, you've earned it, which means that you've earned the right to purchase and like buy and enjoy a lot of these expensive cars that he has, whatever he has. Like, don't you want to drive that shit yourself?
Well, sure, but
you know what I mean? Why would you want somebody else to drive it for you? Why don't you want to drive it yourself?
Well, that would mean that you're accepting the fact that you plan to be under the influence basically all the time, and so if you don't get to drive it then you don't get to drive it ever. When the reality is, if you almost had your leg taken off and you're Tiger Woods and you in an incident from the past, and you face the public scrutiny or whatever, and now you're risking the same exact thing. I guess it doesn't matter to him as far as what we all think. Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly,
why would it?
That's fine. I don't really blame him for that. But the other side of it is the risk that you're causing to other people on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like it's almost like even if like, I mean, this is a little touchy. Like, we've all been there at the point, am I good to drive? Am I not good to drive? Right. Like, even if, there's like this choice in which you make, and you always, even when you're cut off, and even when you feel like, you feel like you're fine to drive, like, chances are you shouldn't drive. So he's already been through a thing like that. It's almost like, it almost seems like one of those things, and this is getting away from sports a little bit more about like personal responsibility. Sure. And almost it's shocking in a way that he would go ahead and risk all that. I mean, obviously he's been there before with us in public perception, but to risk his the rest of his golf career, which has already suffered some, issues in it.
Well, so this is the part that I really want to talk about because I think that there's a lot of shows and a lot of people that have already discussed pretty much ad nauseum about like, his responsibility and like, just, what he should and shouldn't do and kind of just exploiting the situation and saying like, oh, well, he should do this and he should do that. What I was wondering about is like, do you feel like these types of incidents are ruining his, or they're tarnishing his overall legacy in sports in general?
You brought that up as if it, like you mentioned that was going to be a topic, and I was thinking about that. Like the word legacy, has a lot of things associated with it. It's reputation, it's like your accomplishments or whatever. When I think of a legacy, I feel like we already knew that he was kind of a bad boy, if you will. He was already like a...
Is he though? Like in all honesty,
remember the stuff with the BMW and his wife? And
I do remember all that stuff, right? Because he was cheating
and the sex, like he's a sex fiend,
right?
Remember all that?
But the thing is
so him being a bad boy and a counterculture figure, while being an amazing golfer, and his name's Tiger, and
but
look at the guy, and his dad was part of the whole storybook thing. He used to be this storybook guy to us, and then all of a sudden everything flipped on its head. On that moment, the day there's a golf cart involved, right? There's some crazy shit involved.
I know his wife like took a golf club and started hitting the back of the windshield and breaking the windshield because he was cheating.
So like that already changed. Like this is all one and the same of that story that his like history has already changed into. It kind of doubles down on that. So I think like the narrative almost like when we think back, it's almost like a Babe Ruth thing. We're going to think, this guy was fucked up like this and was dealing with things like this, yet he was still this amazing at golf.
I don't know, man. Like, I'm not sure if I fully agree there. Only for the fact that, like, I don't think he was a bad boy. And I don't think, like, he's, like, considered, like, quote-unquote, like a bad boy type of player, right? Like John Daly, that's a bad boy.
I think he's a good guy.
No, but
there's nothing wrong with sex.
No, but listen,
but
his
if you're
image...
a sex fiend...
His image before... The cheating scandal came out and the golf club to the back of the windshield wipers and whatever, like the windshield and all that stuff. Before all that stuff came out, that dude was like the most clean cut dude in the entire golfing community. And I don't know if that's because golf is just a cleaner looking sport image wise.
But I mean, I have a lot of people that think I'm very, very squeaky clean. I'm not that. So like. The public thought of him as squeaky clean. He's Tiger. He's got the baby face. He's like we almost create this image of him. He never was that.
I still don't consider him like a quote unquote bad boy though. Like a guy that goes against the system type of guy.
I think of it's more of, especially with the issues of today and painkillers and things of that ilk, because it's an issue in America. So I think it's maybe more so than reminding us that he's a bad, at least for folks like me that think, oh yeah, I remember he had this sex thing and all that. I think it's more of indicative of he's just like us, like you and me. It's just more like
it brings him down to a more human level.
He is more of a human,
instead of like the mythical level that he's
fictional
on.
character, Tiger, who, it's he's just more like us.
Yeah.
Since but there are people who are a little more squeaky clean, who that will bring down his legacy, his reputation. But for me, for you, for others, like his legacy in and of itself, I don't necessarily think is tarnished. I feel like we already knew this about him. It kind of just doubles down on it. And because of the human element of it, I think there's empathy that lies within there. I think there's like an understanding, like he's outside of the frame in which he would maybe choose to operate, but he's fall victim of, painkillers, like many Americans have, and he's having to deal with it.
So basically, in your opinion, you're saying that it's not really tarnishing his legacy. It's just adding to his mythicalness overall.
in a way, it's almost like any publicity is good publicity. Excuse me.
That's one of the 48 laws of power.
Even for Tiger, so it's almost like, it's not a deal breaker, because we had already been kind of, accustomed to him being a little bit of a counterculture figure. It's like a reminder, It's like, oh yeah, I forgot.
The thing is he's also like in his late 40s, like maybe early 50s, right. Whatever his age is at this point. Like, I know that golf is one of those sports that lasts longer than any other sport, really. I mean, you can't play like hockey or basketball or baseball or football for the amount of time that you're playing golf for. So these guys are in the public eye for significantly more years than a lot of the other athletes.
Sure.
And so they have more time to be in the public spotlight. Even NASCAR drivers have a longer careers. They can, some of them, there's been times, I mean, Dale Earnhardt Sr., rest in peace, but, he raced into his, 50s or 60s or whatever the fuck age he was exactly when he passed. But, I mean, these guys are in the public eye for such a longer period of time that they have more time to, show their faults.
Sure.
And sometimes, say, I don't know, just take a random baseball player, for example, that's even if it's like a big time player, like say Ohtani at some point, right? Ohtani is.
Oh, he's had issues.
He did,
I mean,
but it doesn't tarnish his legacy though. Because only one.
And plus it's so almost like abstract. Almost.
But listen, say
there's other people involved with it.
Say he gets to Tiger's age, right? So about maybe 10, 12 years post playing career for Ohtani at that point. If he gets in trouble, he has a car accident because he gets a DUI. Is it really that big of a deal when he basically hasn't really been in the public eye for 10 years at this point? I mean, I think the relativeness of him, Tiger, having stayed in a sport that allows you to play longer is putting a bigger spotlight on this than it really needs to be. And I think in that way, it does tarnish a legacy only because it's reported on more and it's talked about more. I mean, we're talking about it, and the dude is 50 years old, whatever he is. But if we're doing the show when Ohtani is 50, are you really gonna are we gonna really talk about it for a 15-minute segment about Ohtani having another gambling issue or getting a DUI or whatever? Are we really gonna talk about that when he hasn't been relevant in 10 years?
I mean, I would be a little shook if Ohtani had anything like that happen. You know,
I mean, they're both like the golden child in the same light.
Whereas Tiger has already shown us that he's capable of having outcomes happen, that are unexpected, that are of his own fault when it all comes down to it. But also at the same time, there's a reasonable explanation that leads up to what has happened.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there may be a positive aftermath to this that may help others that are dealing with issues of the same kind of thing. If he were to kind of be a spokesperson for those issues, that would definitely help his, his perception.
Which I think it might go in that direction at some point to try to repair his image a bit.
Well, exactly that.
I'm sure his publicist will say
it
that.
It makes me think, is it real? Is he really motivated to do this because he feels really guilty of all the stuff he does? Honestly, I feel like he kind of gets off out of driving super fucking fast while on these things. And he's Tiger. He's lived a fucking amazing, surreal life. And I think, obviously whatever things that are driving him to do things that are that irrational, sometimes when you get to that level, when you get to that state of mind, you're like, fuck it. And it becomes more thrilling to just say fuck it and drive your car
And one day he's going to turn into Henry Ruggs, and it's going to be the same situation. That's going to be the end of his career. It's going to be the end of his Tiger Woodsness and us thinking of him in that aspect. I mean, in all honesty, he's already had, not that he has strikes against him, but I mean, he is sitting at this I feel like he's sitting at this teetering level where he really fucks up one more time.
For him.
Yeah, I don't know one person.
But we don't want to lose respect for him.
Right. That's a great point, because I don't think that there's one person out there that says fuck Tiger, I hope he does shitty and I hope he falls off.
Right.
When he had his back surgeries, when he had his stuff with Elin, his ex-wife, we all said, okay, he fucked up, but let's root. That's one of the greatest champions that we have. Let's hope that he comes back and becomes the
Right.
greatest champion again. Like everybody loves a fucking redemption story.
Right.
And I think that it's I would love to see Tiger come back again, but he's also getting a little up there in age where like those
Right.
comebacks maybe, you know, there are really good young golf players out there that are better at this point. I mean,
Right. It would be
significantly
much
better.
harder. Yeah. I mean, as any sport goes on,
Yeah.
it becomes more difficult to kind of reclaim your glory.
Yeah. All right. Well, great conversation. Thanks,
Yeah,
Randy.
man.
I
Of
appreciate it.
course.
If you guys have any thoughts on a Tiger situation, or Major League Baseball opening day, if you guys have the same gripes that Randy and I do, hopefully, you know, there are other people that have noticed the same things that we've noticed. If you guys are just excited about UConn hopefully winning another championship, leave us a comment on the YouTube page under J&R Sports Lounge. You can find us on Spotify as well under J&R Sports Lounge. You can leave a comment there as well. Thank you guys all for tuning in for episode 6, and we'll see you later.
J&R Sports Lounge.